Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for our coffee conversations. We are here with longtime Forge volunteer Betty Shivers. We are so excited to be talking with her about life after breast cancer, about talking through things and offering some insight as to what are things that you can do after you're done with active treatment, things to give back to the community. And she does that so well. So excited she's carved out this time to join us today. Betty, could you just I know I did a little bit of your introduction, but if you could introduce yourself to everybody with us today.
I'd be glad to. I'm Betty Shivers, and I guess my career was teaching high school math for 25 plus years. And I retired in 2006. My two grown sons, I raised two boys that are 41 and 39. And they looked at me like I was crazy because they knew what my life was like in teaching 24/7 on the go. And I coached the boys tennis team. And so I was very, very active and involved. And they said, "Mom, what are you going to do?" And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll figure it out because I think that it's time for me to move on and find other things that will fulfill my life and so forth. So I did retire and I have always loved playing tennis, so I pretty much dedicated the time to enjoying tennis and working in my yard and doing those sorts of things. And then 4 years later, in 2010, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I think the first reaction for me was that, I've been healthy all my life. I have no history of this. I have, how did this happen? But it did. And I think I have adopted this mantra since then. I read it in a book, and it said, one of the greatest freedoms we all have is how we react to things, because adversity is going to come.
Yeah.
And it may have been little bits of it before then, but this was a big chunk that I just wasn't quite ready for, as anyone who has had that diagnosis will understand. Mm-hmm. But how do you react? Well, I just had a pity party for about a day, and then I thought, okay, you got to get on with life here, and immediately went into to what that looked like. I was very, very fortunate in that my diagnosis was caught very early. The cancer was in the very earliest stages, but it was recommended that I have a double mastectomy. Well, actually a single mastectomy. And the more I thought about it, and the more research and the more conversations I had with doctors, I thought, no, this is going to be much easier if I just go ahead and have a double mastectomy. It will give me peace of mind, which was my decision, which I did. And again, I thought, well, this is not too bad. Came home and I was, recovering. And about a week later, I had an infection, got an infection, and who knows where that comes from. But I ended up back in the hospital, redoing one side completely. And I thank goodness I didn't know how sick I was. You just sort of are in whatever mode of operation that people tell you to do. And so anyway, but they found it, they treated me, and a week later I got to come back home again. And once I was over that, I was clear sailing. Unfortunately, I did not have to have chemo or radiation because it was so early, and had clear margins. Everything was good. And so then it was recover, and now what? And my love of tennis got put on hold for a year or longer. Every time I'd go to the plastic surgeon, I would ask him, can I play tennis yet? Can I play tennis yet? no, Betty, you can't play tennis yet. And so I'd go back home and, pretend, look at tennis on television. I'd go out and watch my friends on the courts. But I had a friend that I had gone to church with, and she was diagnosed about a month after I was. Same diagnosis, a little bit different treatment that she took, but her name is Betty. And I said, Betty, if we are going through this together, how many other women are also going through this? And so I said, I would like to start a support group. Will you help me? She said, absolutely. So we began a support group in probably 11 or 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. We have been meeting ever since, once a month on the third Tuesday of each month. I have had women come and women go. I have had, we've lost a few women in the course of our support system. But it was the first thing that I knew I did that was going to make a difference for me. Now I can try to help other women. So that became a big deal for me. And then in 2016, Forge arrived on the scene, and I had kind of had some of the preliminary surveys of what Forge was going to look like and what it was going to be and how much it would impact our community because of my support group. And so I knew that once I met the directors and the people that were involved, that I wanted to become a volunteer. So I did become a volunteer early on in 2016, and it has just
still going strong,
still going strong, and it's bigger and it's better. It's the Victorian home, the headquarters are just what I thought needed to happen to be able to have a warm, loving place for people to come to and to, hang out if you're waiting on doctor's appointments, or to meet other people, to take a course, to, as I walked in the house the first time, I told Lauren, the director, I said, I think I'm in my aunt's old home in Mobile, Alabama, because it's just like that. And I had the fondest memories of that. So I'm a peer mentor. I'm very actively involved in the Forge community. And I took one of my clients yesterday, before COVID, you could actually meet with the client and go do something. Have lunch together if they felt like it, go to the doctor together. But yesterday I was able finally to meet one of my clients, and then we had lunch, and then we went to Touching You so that she could get fitted, and it was just a great experience. We had a blast. So and she wasn't having a great day, but it was, and I think if she'd had to do that by herself, it just wouldn't have been a cool thing. So anyway, that's sort of my story. So what do I do after retirement? I got breast cancer, and now I'm involved in the community, and I'm playing tennis again. So
yeah, but you got that tennis back, you held out. I
did.
And I loved some of the things that you mentioned when you said, like, when you were first diagnosed, about, how you had your pity party for a day, right? But even though it was just a day, like, you acknowledged that you need to feel, what it is that you were going through. I think that's really important to point out, that it's okay, like, whatever feelings come with those words and that information, like, it's okay to feel it, but having that support system that can kind of move you forward is really helpful. And, that's one of the reasons Forge is here, to help people move forward and with some people in the community who understand what it is that you're going through. So before we before we dive more into a lot of the things you've already mentioned, tell us about your experience with Hot Pink, because you were a model in our annual fundraiser and you killed it. So I think it'd be really awesome if we could all hear about your experience and fill us in on that.
Well, it was just an absolute fabulous experience. I had been invited to participate last year in 2021, COVID prevented me from doing that. So when Lauren called and said, "Could you do this for us?" and I said, "Absolutely. I've been thinking about it for a year." And so I was paired with a designer that was all of 19 years of age, who was a student at the University of Alabama in the School of Design. And she came to Birmingham, met me at my home, and she created an outfit. I kind of wanted like a Serena Williams crazy tennis outfit, but she wasn't so keen on that. So I said, "Okay, whatever you want to do, just let's do it." And so we did. And the day, well, first of all, after being invited to do it and meeting Amelia and having such a great experience with her, and she was just, I'm thinking, how in the world can someone 19 years of age be so involved and doing so many things and be so mature and take all of this on? But she was just that kind of person, or is that kind of person. As I felt then, it was my responsibility to try to raise money for Forge. And if I was going to be on a runway and trying to participate in a fundraiser, then I needed to be responsible for raising money. So I began in earnest to call anybody and everybody I think I've ever known in my life to say, "Could you please donate some money to Forge?" And I'm not one to deal with money. I don't, that's not my thing, but
well, you did well.
I did. And so we raised about $6,000 just from my husband's friends and my friends, and had a tennis tournament, $1,000 from my tennis buddies. So anyway, that was great. And I was perfectly fine with the interviews that I had to do. That was fun. I got to have a joint interview with one of my clients who was also in the show, which was just great because, as Lauren said, it's often that the volunteer and the client aren't seen. They're very seldom seen on the same page. You get the client's perspective and you get the volunteer's perspective, but to get us both in earnest right there together, talking about what we meant to each other, was pretty cool. I was great until I got my makeup done the day of the show at this haughty-taughty salon that I've never would afford to even walk into. Got my hair done. And so I was great. And then I thought, oh my goodness, I've really got to do this. And so anyway, but it just was fabulous. I was at, once it began and to walk out and see people and to be a part. And when Amelia told me, my designer, she said in her interview, she says, "I just want Betty to have fun, to do something she's never done before." And boy, she was right, because it was great. So it was a wonderful evening. And Catherine was there, Elena, all of y'all were there. And I just will cherish it for forevermore.
Yeah, and you looked like you had so much fun, and you killed that walk. I mean, if you didn't practice it, I mean, you did wonderfully.
It helped that they ended up bringing a little bit of champagne back there before we started.
Something to shake the nerves, but I mean, it kind of just leads into like things to do after, like, so sometimes when we're in the thick of something, and something as serious as breast cancer, and everybody's journey looks different, right? But nonetheless, it's life-changing. And when you're in the thick of it, you don't think about these things after treatment. You don't think about, once I finish treatment, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that all the time. And sometimes that can be like a really hard adjustment, because you're just trying to make it through something. And that when you get through it, you don't necessarily think about what's coming after this. What are these new changes in my body, in my life, in my family? So from your experience, what would you say was one of the more difficult things to adjust to after active treatment, like the new you? And I say that with air quotes, right? Just changes. What was the most difficult thing to adjust to, like once you realized, okay, active treatment is over, so what's next?
Well, I talk to women a lot now through my support group and through Forge, and when one is actively involved in treatment, one's life is consumed with the times one has to go to the doctor, the times one has to wait to go to the doctor, the time you have to wait to go to have a procedure done, or you have to wait, God forbid, for a result of a test being done. And so I think there is an enormous amount of time waiting. And once that is over, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to wait any longer to sit in a doctor's office or to sit and wait for the phone to ring. I can begin to be proactive now. I'm in charge of my own time now. And I think that was the biggest thing for me to realize I don't have to go see Dr. Cohn once a week and have him blow up my boob, and it's just an experience to say now I can begin my new life because it does look different. I look different. But boy, it can be full. It can be really rich with what you choose to do with your time now that you have that opportunity.
Yeah. So like realizing that now I have all this free time because you got so used to going to the appointments and being here and being there. So would you say that adjusting to this new norm as it relates to I have all of this time now and I have all of these opportunities that I can think on things that I just want to do or now that I can do. Now I'm not having to plan things around so many appointments.
Well, I think so. And I think anyone that has had any kind of serious adversity in life, you have a different perspective, period, about life when you have recovered. And, you notice things. The first time I was able to drive, oh my God, I can drive down the road by myself. And, I can, I think I became much more involved in reaching out and talking to people. I could talk about this experience forever because stories need to be told. And it's what we do when we share those stories, where newer meaning and fulfillment comes, certainly in my life. So, I think that answered your question. I hope.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I love all of the transparency that you're giving us. I mean, because it's easy to say what sounds good, but the reality is like these are the adjustments that one might need to make and really realize that your process is your process, but also realizing that there are people in this world who want to support you through these things. And it's okay to also need support after active treatment. Like some people, just want to get through it. They just want to make it out of this. And then after that, then it hits them. I've had breast cancer and all of these things about my life are so different. And so
I would say, Janata, too, that I've thought of this as you were talking. The first 5 years or so, after you've recovered, that you think, oh my gosh, I have a pain. Oh my gosh, something's going on. And you become in a bit of a panic mode. And then you think, am I going to live in fear for the rest of my life every time I wake up with a little ache or pain? And I mean, 12 years later, I told Janet this, that I had a pain under my right arm about a month ago. And I thought, oh my God, okay, now what? And went to see the doctor and I thought I shouldn't be here. This is ridiculous, but maybe not. And it was absolutely total overuse of my right arm playing tennis. That was the only problem I had. But I had to get that cleared up for me. And I think that's a lot of it is now 12 years later, there's very seldom that I have those kinds of times that you think, okay, my life is not living in fear anymore. I'm ready to keep going and as much as I can to bring to each day.
Is there something that you wish you would have known prior to starting your post-active treatment life? Like if there was something that somebody could kind of put in your ear about how to manage and things to think on and things to process after active treatment. Is there anything that you can think back on and you're like, dang, I wish I would have known this, or anything to that nature?
Maybe the only thing I think is I just didn't realize how long the process was going to be when you're actively involved in it. And so afterwards, I don't know, I just was so, I was so glad to be on that side that I didn't even give myself time to think, I don't think, about where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, because it was there, and I was going to embrace whatever that needed to look like. And more than importantly, to help other women embrace what they needed to do.
And in doing that, because you're a peer match, you are a support group leader, you're a leader in your community. I mean, you're really helping individuals impacted by breast cancer, and it's so needed. What has your experience been like? And I know we have a couple of other people on the call who are also peer matches who might be able to speak to a couple of these things. But what is your experience been like, just being that support person for others who are impacted by breast cancers? By breast cancer, is that something that you thought, like, this is a way for me to give back to those who might need someone to talk to?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was asked at one point during this whole October month how many ladies I had been asked to support over the 6 years that I've been involved. And I counted, and I think that I arrived at 9 different women. And right now I'm involved with probably 3 or 4 actively, and others that not so much, as they're pretty much over their journey. But I hear so many times when I talk to someone that I've been asked to support, that they just simply say, thank you. I didn't know it was, I sent a card one day to somebody, and she said, I don't know how you knew that I needed that card today, but somehow I needed it. Well, I mean, those are just things that that have meant so much to me, to know that if you work at it a little, you really can make a difference. And it's just too damn hard to do by yourself. Yeah. All of us, I think, can understand that. And, getting support from your family and from your friends is certainly very, very important. But getting support from a woman that has walked some form of that journey before you is just invaluable.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I mean, there's just a level of understanding, because you won't have to explain to this person what this means and what that means, and to be a person on the opposite side of it. So I'm out of active treatment, but I want to support others because I get it. And
just yesterday, for example, when we were having lunch together with one of my clients, first of all, she has a very contagious laugh. And if I say finally we talk about different things, but then when we always end up laughing. But through the course of the hour and a half or 2 hours we were together, she said, it's just been a hard week. It's just, last week was hard. This week is hard. And I had to stop and think, maybe I haven't let her cry if she wanted to cry, or maybe I haven't been more attentive to this is a crappy day and I'm not doing so well. And so I stopped and I told her that. I said, we don't have to laugh all the time. We can take some time to just feel however you feel. And I will let you do whatever you feel like you want to do, and feel comfortable with that. And then at the end of that conversation, we laughed. So, I mean, that was just part of a snippet of what it has meant to me to be involved.
That's awesome. I'm so grateful that you're here for individuals who need that support. Because how great is it to have somebody who gets everything that you're saying and they still offer a safe space for you to feel whatever you feel, whether that's anger, whether that's sadness or frustration or guilt. Just to have somebody to get it makes such a huge difference. And so one last thing I wanted to touch on. So when you have someone who's transitioning into life after active treatment, what are some things that you would like for them to know? Like, for instance, if somebody is, I just finished my last appointment, I don't have to go back for a while and I'm officially out of active treatment. What in the world do I do? I don't know what to do with my life. What's safe? What's not safe? What cautionary measures should I take? All of these different things can kind of flood your mind. Like, is this new norm for me going to be taken away? So many things, right? What are some things that you would say to those individuals who are about to transition from the person that needed a lot of support to being a person who wants to give support, but they might not know where to start?
I think I would say take your time. For one thing, we may not be in treatment, but there's this sort of a little bit of a limbo period in that you feel like, okay, I know I want to do some things, but I'm not sure I know exactly what they are. Take time to explore different things. I've met one lady that has had some issues with trying to figure out where she wanted to volunteer. She wants to do something, but she doesn't exactly know what. And she's begun to take time and is kind of feeling her way of, okay, I think I want to do this, or whether it's, okay, I can go back to work. Initially during that transition period, I think you need to take account how much more you might need to rest. You need to take account that it's okay not to do anything for a day.
Yeah.
Watch movies, do whatever. But just listen to what be aware of what your body is telling you, and then and just go for it, figure it out, and you will. I think each individual has to find what they want to do to begin life after breast cancer. But it's there, and the support which Forge offers, which to me is just tremendous, that it doesn't matter if you're 10 years removed, you still have support. Mm-hmm. And that's a big deal.
Thank you so much, Betty. Thank you for sharing your story, your experience, and all of your advice for those who are making that transition. You are doing it very gracefully, and we are just so grateful that you lend your time and your efforts and your heart to Forge, because there's a great deal of care that comes with being able to support others after you've been through breast cancer. And so thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.